What's going on, family? What's going on? What's going on? We're going to get started in a few. Just allow some more people to come in, and then we will get started. Make sure you grab your pens, notebooks. Make sure you clear your space, clear your area. We're going to go into a lot of different things on understanding how to holistically self-analyze thyself, self-diagnose thyself, so that you all can be properly educated on things that you can actually do from the comfort of your own home. So we're going to give it a couple minutes. What's going on? What's going on, family? Peace, love, balance, and prosperity, everybody. It is your brother, your servant, your herbalist, Mikael Ben Orr. Welcome to the Edenic Experience. This is Mike Mondays on KTV Podcast, where we do go live and give a lecture every Monday, each and every Monday at 8 o'clock p.m. So I welcome you all to the live podcast. I pray everybody's weekend was well, your week was well, and I hope we're ready to get even a better week going as we dive into a self-analysis on how we can truly better our health within the comfort of our own homes. So if y'all ready, make sure you grab your pens, your pads, and have an open mind. And again, this is about educating and furthering the consciousness of our people, right? Consciousness over corruption. If we've been miseducated, that means we have to unlearn to relearn so we become educated. So with that being said, let's get it started, right? One of the reasons I really wanted to go into this particular topic is because as it was paid forward to me and taught to me on these different techniques and knowledge on really what I can do to get ahead of my own health, to get ahead of any issues I may or ailments I may have going on with myself, is truly understanding the system and even the documentation that these doctors are giving us, right? These analysis, and even understanding how they're testing us and by what standard are they testing us from, which I believe a lot of us need to understand, because a lot of us don't realize that we are getting misdiagnosed, we're getting misanalyzed, and sometimes we leave with something that we really don't have. I've seen cases where in one hospital, they said that they had they tested positive for HSV1, and then they went to a whole other hospital in another region in another city, and it tested negative, right? And I'm a firm believer in getting 2 or 3 witnesses to establish the matter. So for my clients particularly, I always ask them in any case, whether we dealing with cancer, diabetes, HSV1 or 2, make sure that you're going to at least multiple hospitals just to verify that that is what's going on, because you can be dealing with something, or you can be they can be testing you for something that you really don't have, and then you find yourself actually dealing with some type of sickness due to a misdiagnosis. So I want to make sure for my people that we all are educated and up to par on the knowledge on how to diagnose ourselves, so that we'll find ourselves becoming even self-sufficient in our own healing, right? So even as I was taught and the information was given to me freely, I'm giving it to you all freely, because you owe it to yourself. I owe it to you all. Those who are in this field of healing owe it to you all to make sure y'all have a fighting chance. And yes, the reality is, when it comes to your health, you are in a fight. You are in a war. When you look at the very food that we're being distributed, it's literally chemically weaponized against you to shut down your immune system and to cause ailments and sicknesses to set in within yourself, so that you can stay dependent on the powers that be. When you look at your education, it is chemically, knowledgeably weaponized to get you, to program you to think a certain way that will be a benefit to those who oppress you, depress you, and suppress you. When you look at your clothes, most people wear polyester. When you actually look at polyester, it can actually be one of the an inhibitor of actually assisting in helping skin cancer, due to the chemical dyes and compounds that's within that type of fabric, and it can actually suppress your skin, where it's not even able to properly detoxify itself properly by way of sweat. You see that? So when you look at your phones, you're not realizing that your phones is microdosing you with radiation, especially if you shoot it next to your phone. You're not turning off your phone, you're not putting it out your room, and you're not even putting it on airplane mode. You literally microdosing radiation. Look at your microwave, the same thing. You microdosing radiation. So everything that circumferences and surrounds us, especially artificial light, same thing. Everything around us is a weapon against us. There's not one thing that we have endowed ourselves in when it comes to this society that is not against us. Not one thing. Even down to the city structures, it's against you, causing a lack of oxygen to circulate within the air for you to properly breathe and expand your lungs to get proper oxygen in your lungs. Then you got pollution, you got chemtrails, all these things that are polluting the air, and you're literally breathing in. And they're knocking down the trees that actually help cleanse the atmosphere. You see what I mean? So when we look at our environment, and everything that circumferences us either yields sickness or death. Everything. So it behooves us at least to start out with our health. That's something that no matter if you lost your home, you lost your wife, your husband, you lost your children, you lost your car, you lost your job, you lost your money, the one thing that's going to always be with you to the death is your health. And it most definitely behooves you that that you are educated at least on that, especially if you got children, right? A lot of us don't realize that we're walking around with inactive cancerous cells due to us being passed down degenerative cells by way of our ancestors, called epigenetic inheritance, right? And a lot of these genetic information that we're receiving comes with anxiety, comes with stress hormones, come with deficient hormones, come with a lack of pure immunity. And so now you see every generation, the rate of sickness is higher and higher. And that's not just dealing with the external environment, but that's also dealing with the internal environment, and how a lot of our babies are going through these natal processes of coming out the womb sick, not even having a fighting chance. And then you add the so-called vax, right? That the disaster vaccine that they're forcefully suggesting you do to your children. We're not giving our children a chance to fight. We're not giving our children a chance to really be able to have true holistic health in its purest form. And we're constantly working backwards coming out the womb rather than being able to progressively work forward. So with that being said, if you're ready, type some ones in the chat. If you're ready, type some ones in the chat. I'm just about to share this video a little bit more. If you're ready, type some ones in the chat. Share this a little bit more and we good to go. We good to go? All right, so I'm about to put this up on my phone so I can see y'all because I got to pull my screen up. All right, so we good to go. Peace and love to everybody who has joined the live. Peace and love, Lene. Peace and love. Peace and love. Let me share my screen and we gonna get started. Just making sure we good. All right, y'all. So the lecture today, we're talking about how to give yourself a self-analysis, right? Well, first of all, when it comes to self-analysis, I look at it like I try not to be an extremist when it comes to dealing with the pharmaceutical companies and doctors. Do I believe if you absolutely like fearfully like about to die and they suggest surgery that you need to get surgery, I absolutely believe you should get surgery. I'm not a surgeon. I'm not certified to be a surgeon. I did not get a degree to be a surgeon, so I'm not an extremist. But when it comes to internal ailments, when it comes to hopping on certain protocols and certain health techniques that can bring you back to homeostasis, bring you back to balance, do I believe that you should go the organic, original route of herbal remedies? Absolutely. They like to call it oftentimes alternative, but how can something that's original be an alternative? If anything, the pharmaceutical companies is the alternative, simply seeing that one, they believe in monochemistry, right? They believe in suppressive therapy, where they're giving us medicines that not technically heal the root cause of the disease, but it only suppress the symptoms of that disease, which is not technically even a sickness within itself. Is it a dis-ease in the body? Absolutely. But is it truly a sickness? I personally don't believe that, just from not only what I've been taught, but through my own thorough research, that it's just your body going through something called a healing crisis, right? And y'all can look that up. We've went over that in other lectures, but for time's sake, y'all look that up, what a healing crisis is. Like, as they consider a fever a sickness, where it's not a sickness, it's your thymus gland sending out its defensive soldiers to cause your body to heat up so it can actually burn off the actual sickness that is there to defend you for. So when you look at a fever, is it really sickness? No, it's actually a self-defense mechanism that your body is smart enough to do because you're not properly eliminating by defecation, urination, or sweating. So your body goes through a fever-like type of symptom so it can cause you to forcefully sweat and burn off those infirmities inside you, right? When you see that your skin is outbreaking, which we're going to go over that too. People call it acne and people call it eczema. And these are signs of sickness. But in essence, when you really look at it, it's actually your body defending itself and pushing out by way using the blood and the mucus to push out any infirmities or sickness and even baby parasites that is in your body that you are not properly eliminating. So we don't realize that our body is extremely smart. It's extremely wonderfully and perfectly made to be able to sustain and maintain this vehicle called a body on this earth. Because the reality is we are called to be in the likeness and the image of God on earth. And so do we really think that God will create deficiencies in us, like called mucosal membrane? Right? We believe mucus is a bad thing. It's not. I believe mucus, the mucosal membrane, is a system within itself intertwined in the other 12 systems in the body. And when you look at mucus, mucus is actually sits on a pH scale on the alkaline level. And it's actually there as a liquid substance, a coolant to actually bind up any inflamed toxins, heavy metals, right? Bad bacteria. It's there to bind it up and to flush it out by way of a runny nose, by way of mucus coming out the eyes, by way of mucus coming out your ears. It can come out your penis, or it can come out by way of what they call acne or eczema. These are all forms of your body self-detoxifying itself, right? But we've been taught that it's just sickness alone, not understanding what's behind these reactive phases that we're going through. So if we can change our thought process on what our body is going through, like a fever, like acne, like eczema, like a burning sensation coming from our penis when we urinate, overactive acid within the body, right? Or fever-like symptoms. When we actually start to understand what our body is going through, we will actually start to embrace these things and see it as a good thing. When you get in a fever, you should be proud and happy that your body is functioning. When you're going through diarrhea-like symptoms, you should be proud and happy that your body is functioning. Because not only is this showing that your body is functioning, but it's showing that your body is willing to work with you to eliminate the thing that you are having a hard time eliminating yourself because you keep stuff in your mouth. Because you keep stuff in your mouth with food that's calling your body to go through these reactive defense mechanisms due to what you keep putting in your mouth, not realizing that you are literally eating against yourself rather than for yourself. So when we're going through this, understand it's here to show you, and I advise whether you sick or not, everybody should go get a CBC test. If you don't know what a CBC test is a blood count chart test where they test your blood. So when you do a self-analysis, yes, it's testing your blood, but when you actually go into the blood, seeing blood is one of the biggest liquids in the body. It's one of the biggest liquids, right? Outside of the obviously the water content in your body, the lymph liquid in your body, right? The blood, right? Blood, it plays a significant part on your health and wellness. So if you don't really understand your blood and you don't understand what's going on in your blood and how your blood plays a significant role in feeding the cells, then you're gonna have a hard time getting to the root cause of why you're sick, right? And once you actually start to analyze the blood and see what the blood needs to feed the cells, you'll realize what the true diet of the so-called Black man, woman, and child is. Even down to Caucasians and Asians, there is a specific diet that they should be on. But the ultimate diet, the eternal diet, the everlasting, the beginning and end diet is the Edenic diet. Is Genesis chapter 1, verses 29. That was the original diet given to the original man. And that will be the original, the eternal original diet at the end. So when we go through this, right, your body, and I always tell you, your body is made up of atoms that make up cells. These cells make up tissues. These tissues make up organs. These organs make up systems, and these systems make you. There's not one thing in this world that don't work on a system, whether that be a job, whether that be welfare, whether that be society, whether that be politics, whether that be school, right? Whether that be prison. Everything has a system, and in that system, there is a manual. And in that manual, there is a code of conduct that must be applied for this system to work right. And that's what you are made. You have a code of conduct called DNA, deribonucleic acid. And this deribonucleic acid, it carries certain information that teaches you your personality, that teaches you your ancestry, that teaches you your diet, that teaches you what your cells need, that teaches you the minerals, the trace minerals that you need, the essential minerals that you need, that tells you what you're going to pass on to your own children by epigenetics, right? Inheritance. And guess where this DNA is located? It's located in the blood. It's located in the blood. Guess what feeds this DNA? The blood. Guess what supplies this DNA with the charges or electricity or life code or light codes that it needs? The blood. So what do you think will happen if this blood is not on its natural balance on pH level between 7.35 pH and 7.45? What do you think will happen if you go to the level of acidosis, which is past 7.35, or alkalosis, which is above 7.45? You would die. You would literally die. So understand that the blood is very imperative, and it's actually life or death. If you go anywhere smaller than 7.35 or anywhere higher than 7.45, you will die due to acidosis or alkalosis. which shows you that it's imperative that you understand true blood type. Blood type is not A, B, or C, or D. Why? Because that's not actually how the blood reads. Simply because it's actually reading on an intracellular level. The blood is simply there to make sure it feeds the cells, which also feeds the organs. So if it feeds the cells, the question you have to ask is, what does it feed the cells? How does it feed the cells? What exactly does the cells need to stay on a balanced oxygenated level so they can stay balanced and charged for you to live? These are all questions that we have to ask ourselves, because you will realize that them talking about blood type is a lie. Them talking about calorie type or calories is a lie. Them talking about the protein myth is a lie. It's all a lie. We're talking about trace minerals. We're talking about the periodic table. We're talking about light codes. We're talking about information. And there's only certain information that's allowed to go into the cells that it can thrive. And when you put different information in the cell, it will literally self-implode, or it will self-die. It would explode. So we want to make sure we stay on the side of balance. I'm not going to say acid side nor alkaline side, because I realize that the body is naturally alkaline, but it functions on the acidic side as well. You got something called hydrochloric acid. You got something called folic acid. You have something called deribonucleic acid. You have ribonucleic acid. But then you have what you call mucus, which is alkaline. You also have your blood, which is alkaline. See that? You got the water content, which is H3O2, which is alkaline. So it's all about bringing balance. It's all about bringing homeostasis in the body so that you can function at the most optimum level as gods on this earth, as Elohim on this earth. And Elohim is dealing with mind, body, and soul. It's whole, it's complete, it's one functional being. Many different systems or members, but functioning as one body. Right? So we have to understand, if we were giving God bodies, I mean, we had to be giving God diet. Let's keep going. Right? So just for video's sake, this is not any of my clients. So you see the name, this is actually just a simple sample that they that's actually on Google. I just wanted to keep it simple just for the protection of my own clients and for anybody for future references when it comes to my clients. I do not at all legally, I cannot show any of your tests or your results or anything that we share. Everything is confidential unless you give me the right to do so. But other than that, anything that you share with me dealing with your medical records is confidential. I just want to put that on the record so that we got some understanding. So if y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. If y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. If y'all ready to move forward, drop some sevens in the chat. All right, let's move on. So what you see here again, this is a complete blood count chart. This is a complete blood count chart. If y'all go to the right, you see range. The numbers that you see is the range that your levels or your value should stay between. I was always taught, and I understood through my own testing myself and just research that you want to stay even within these numbers. You want to stay in the middle. Anytime you find yourself getting closer to the least number or getting closer to the higher number, that is an actual sign that there is something malfunctioning, or there is something that's starting to go on within the body. So write that down. You want to stay within the middle. So let's take the WBC, which, by the way, WBC means white blood count, right? White blood count. So if you go to the white blood count, the WBC, if you look at the range, it says 4.0 to 10.0. You preferably want to be in the middle. So I would say about 7.5, anywhere between 7 and 8. You want to kind of stay in that range. and that's just showing balance. You're not too far at the least, nor are you too far at the highest number, right? So when we look at the white blood count, what does the white blood count do? The white blood count is dealing with the white blood cells, right? The white blood cells is what actually assists in your immunity. It's actually dealing with making sure that it's protecting you from any foreign invaders, whether that be by way of bacteria, whether that be by way of just certain traces of material, as I like to call it, dump material that is not used to that, or that looks foreign to it. It literally will go to that foreign invader, and it will actually almost like take a picture of that foreign invader, and it will hold a memory of this foreign invader. So next time this foreign invader comes, especially if it's something that will attack the body, it has memory of it. It attaches itself, takes a picture, takes a strand of its own DNA, and it has a memory. If it sees it again, it knows how to handle that, right? So that's the WBC. So I'm gonna just go through the result names first, then we're gonna go through the actual value numbers. The next one is your red blood cell count. The next one is your red blood cell count. Y'all see that? It's your red blood cell count, and that needs to range between 4.2 to 5.4. The next one is your hemoglobin, right? Your hemoglobin is dealing with your iron phosphate. It's dealing with the iron phosphate, the levels of your iron phosphate, right? Then you have, and I always mess this one up, but it's like the hemocritic. I wrote it down because I know I was gonna mess it up. So it's called the hematocrit, right? The hematocrit pretty much is dealing with the value of the cells, right? It's dealing with the volume of that cell. Just like hemoglobin is dealing with the actual volume of iron phosphate within that cell, the hematocrit is actually dealing with the value of that cell. And then you have MCV, which is mean corpuscle value, right? And what the mean corpuscle value is actually dealing with is the actual size. It's dealing with the size of that actual cell, right? Dealing with the actual size. So we have the hematocrit, which goes between 37 to 47. Then you have the mean corpuscle value, which is between 81 and 98. And then you have the mean corpuscle hemoglobin, or you have, we hit the hematocrit. Yeah, mean corpuscle hemoglobin, which is also dealing with the mass size of the cell itself, is between 27 to 32. And then you have, make sure I don't mess this up, you have the mean, I'm about to mess it up, the mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. So I had to write this down. I knew I was gonna mess these words up, right? And that's between 32 to 36, right? And then we get in with the red blood cell distributing width. And then you got the MPV. So let's go back. So we went over the WBC already, right? Went over the WBC, which is the white blood cell count, right? So now we see that the 3.2 is 3.2 in value. So we see that that's lower than 4.0, right? That's actually lower than 4.0. So if it's lower than 4.0, that means that your body is not producing enough white blood cells. Now, why would it not be producing enough blood cells? Why would it not be producing enough white blood cells? Anytime you're dealing with the white blood cells and not producing enough, that means your immune system is weak. And usually that is a clear sign that not only are you producing, it could be a sign that you're producing, in this case, you're not, but you could be producing too much red blood cells. But that means that you definitely have what they call a so-called infection, so-called virus, or a sickness that's going up, and that your white blood cells is compromised. So that could be in the sense of leukemia. It could be in the sense of autoimmune system. It can be a sense of your lymphatic system is compromised. It's not able to produce enough white blood cells, which means if it's not able to produce enough white blood cells, not only do we realize that your lymphatic system is compromised, but we also know because your thymus gland has a lot to do with it, that your thymus gland is also compromised, right? So write that down. Write that down. Excuse me real quick, y'all. I'm gonna need to grab something real quick. My bad, y'all. Had to grab me a little rag. It was getting a little hot in here. So let me share my screen again. It's getting a little toasty in here. Let me share my screen. Make sure y'all can see it. All right. So let's continue. So back to what we were saying. So now we see that the WBCs is low. So we already know that my immune, y'all forbid this talking about me, but this is somebody else. But I'm using me for an example. My WBCs, my white blood cell count is compromised. It's lower than the value range, which is 4.0 to 10.0, which shows me that not only is infection setting in, but my immunological so-called system is down. My lymphatic system is compromised. My thymus gland, seeing that it's in charge of making sure that the protection is supposed to be working, is also compromised. We can also even, we'll talk about this later, but even look at our spleen, because our spleen is also in charge of overlooking your white blood cells, your platelets, and your red blood cells. So we can even assume possibly that my spleen is not doing its job properly. So now we go to RBC, which is a red blood cell count. We see that that's even low. So now we dealing with the WBC, which is a white blood cell count. We see that my immune system is compromised. And now we see my red blood cell count is way below. It's way below the range value. So that tells me what? I'm not only not receiving protection, but I'm lacking oxygen. I'm lacking oxygen getting brought to the cells. I'm very low on getting oxygenated substance to my cells. That means I'm anemic. I'm dealing with anemia. I'm dealing with anemia on top of not having the protection to help protect and replenish these cells, right? So anytime you're dealing with RBC low, you're dealing with iron phosphate anemia. If you're dealing with WBCs now, you possibly going to be dealing with folate anemia, right? There's different type of anemias. You got iron phosphate anemia, and you got folic acid anemia. Anytime you see that your immunological system is down, and we'll get to this later, but we can assume not only are you missing trace minerals like iron phosphate, but then you also missing, if your immunological system is going down, you're not getting enough what you call cobalt, or what we also know as vitamin B12, and vitamin B9. So write that down. So my immune system is compromised, and I'm not getting enough oxygen to the cells, which I know that means I'm not only malnutrition, but I'm anemic. And not only am I anemic, I can tell that I'm not only absorbing properly, I'm not only not utilizing properly, but I can assume by this already that I may not even be eliminating properly. I may not even be eliminating properly. So now we're looking at the hemoglobin, which makes sense because the red blood cell count is down. The hemoglobin is dealing with the volume of iron phosphate to the cells. And we see that range is 12.0 between 12.0 and 16. So anytime you see that your hemoglobin is low, we already knew by default that was going to be low because your red blood cell count, simply because the hemoglobin is dealing with what? It's dealing with the iron phosphate. It's dealing with iron phosphate, right? Which going to the hematocrit, right? Which range is supposed to be from 37 to 47, it's 27. So you see thus far up until probably the platelet, that pretty much from WBC, outside of WBC, but from RBC all the way down to RDW, we're dealing with the red blood cells. So we can assume, if we already knew that was going to be low RBC, for sure you're going to see your hemoglobin low. For sure you're going to see your hematocrit low because you're not getting enough iron phosphate. You're not getting enough oxygenated minerals to that cell. And iron phosphate is the main mineral that the blood takes and to apply to the cell. So if you're not reproducing enough red blood cells, and we know what it also is in charge of helping produce red blood cells, your bone marrow. So that means we can now know that your bone marrow is compromised. And if your bone marrow is compromised, we can now assume not only are you missing iron phosphate, vitamin B12 and 9, but if your bone marrow is involved, seeing that your RBC is not reproducing enough, right? That you may not even be receiving enough potassium, calcium, and since that magnesium and calcium paired together. And if it's low, we can also assume that you may be dealing with a hypoactive thyroid, because your energy levels is not. If you're not getting enough charges through your oxygen, that means by default you're not yielding enough energy, which makes sense because most people who dealing with iron phosphate anemia, or we can even go further, sickle cell anemia, are always low on energy. They don't have enough energy. And a lot of the times, you'll even find that their sleeping patterns is off. And if their sleep-awake patterns is off, that means we know for a fact now that you're dealing with a pineal gland issue. So you see how much just from your WBCs, your RBCs, your hemoglobin, your hematocrit, your mean corpuscle value, your mean corpuscular hemoglobin. You see how much we actually have gotten just from simply read those first few. So one thing we can say is that this person right here, not only I would suggest, especially that their WBCs is down, that not only do they need to do a full body cellular cleanse and cellular sweep, but they also need to eat foods. I would even put them on a high. I would put them on a fruit cleanse, simply because they're not getting enough oxygen to the cells. They're not even producing enough red blood cells, and they're not taking in a lot of iron phosphate, which I could probably assume that this person probably not in the sun that much. They probably don't get a lot of sun. They're probably not getting a lot of vitamin D, which converts over to cholesterol, which converts over to salts and sugars, which is nothing but energy in the first place. They're probably not eating enough leafy greens. If y'all want to know, kale holds a lot of iron phosphate. Sweet potatoes holds a lot of iron phosphate. Collard greens holds a lot of iron phosphate. Vitamin B12. Now we're dealing with fatty acids and what helps build muscle. Now we're dealing with the avocados, the chickpeas, the quinoas. Herbs, if we talking about herbs, we can deal with burdock root, yellow dock root, dandelion root, chaparral, which is oxygenated, blessed thistle. These are just a few. These are just a few. So now, what we're going to move on to. Now you're dealing with the mean corpuscle hemoglobin concentrate, which actually measures each cell, right? So when we see the mean corpuscle value and the mean corpuscle hemoglobin and the mean corpuscle hemoglobin concentrate, we see that these are balanced. But what we can say is that they're on the higher side of the median. They're on the higher side, which means they're not extremely low on iron. They're not extremely low on iron, right? But we can't say that they are lacking hydration. We can't say that they are lacking hydration. We can't say that they are lacking a balanced folic acid and iron phosphate. So this person, I would assume, is definitely dehydrated and not getting enough oxygen. Probably, I would even assume that they probably don't even breathe properly. Most people nasal breathe, where they just breathe in and out their mouth, right? Which that is a form that helps bring in oxygen and releases carbon dioxide. And there is extreme benefits to properly breathing. Most people do not breathe right. And I guarantee, looking at this, that they, for the most part, probably don't breathe right. They probably don't breathe right. So let's go to RW, which is red blood cell distribution width, which again is red. Why is it high? It's high because it's showing you that it's not enough iron phosphate being distributed. It's not enough iron phosphate being distributed. And it's showing that the body is forced to actually create more red blood cells, which I was saying earlier. It's forced to simply because your WBCs is down and you're not. So now you having to overwork and strip the bone marrow of its minerals because you causing your body to overwork itself. And if you have to strip the bone marrow of its minerals, I can guarantee they're dealing with a hypothyroidism. So what can we say, family, by this diagnosis? That for sure, based upon this diagnosis, I can guarantee this person eats a lot of meat. I can definitely tell they eat a lot of cheese, for sure, and a lot of dairy, and probably are major bread consumers. Now, why am I mentioning these? Because anytime you're dealing with meat, already it's hard to break down, and you're not able to get a proper pancreatic enzymic reaction. Therefore, you're not able to even use it to properly utilize anything from it to distribute to the cells. So by that already, you're going to lack any type of oxygen. Then your WBCs is down, which why I said dairy, because dairy is definitely a circulation blocker. It does not allow the cells to breathe and energy to flow properly, which is why your WBCs is having a hard time defending it, because there's so much acidosis and acid circulating throughout the body. On top of it, if it is acidosis, which means your mucosal membrane is secreting a lot of mucus, which probably is not properly being distributed out the body, which means if it's not being distributed, it got to go somewhere, which means your mucosal membrane is causing mucus to harden, and it's creating this wall, which is causing the circulation, we're going to say energy levels or oxygen to not flow properly. So this type of person I would definitely put on a fruit diet. This type of person I would definitely put on a fruit diet. Right? Let's keep going. So then we go to your platelets, right? It's at 201, which is not extremely bad. It is more on the lower side. It should be if anything, it should be at between 275 and 300. I'm gonna say even 250 to 300 is a good range. And this actually is what helps the blood clot. This actually will help the blood clot. So you see, it's not necessarily bad, but it's on the low, which makes sense because you're not getting enough red blood cells being made or distributed. Therefore, the problem with it being low, though, here's the problem with it being low. If it becomes too low, it's not going to allow your blood to properly clot. It's not going to allow your blood to properly clot. And you need clotting, especially let's say you're dealing with a wound or something like that. You're dealing with a cut, and this is a severe cut. What's one of the first things that start to happen? You feel pain, but what's really going on is though these platelets is actually rushing to that area to start helping rebuild that skin, repair that skin by way of your red blood cells. And this is why it's important to eat the right trace minerals, because it gives them the energy to do their job, which is to be fruitful, multiply, and regenerate. And that's really all your skin is nothing but a bunch of cells. But imagine that you're not getting the right minerals to your cells so they can function properly. Not only will the blood thin out, but it won't even be able to properly close that wound. You see how important it is to eat properly and feed the cells properly? Because by you not eating properly, you can find yourself not even able to regenerate your skin cells. You can find yourself not being able to properly heal yourself and close a wound due to you just not eating properly. That's how deep it is. That's how deep it is. So that's just a summary. And it's actually more. When you got your lymphocytes, you got your absolute neutrophils, you got your eosinophils. That's when you get to your white blood cell count. But I didn't want to make this super, super, super long. I just wanted to give y'all like a surface of it so y'all can at least start to look at these things and properly analyze your own self, even dealing with your WBCs, your RBCs, your hemoglobins, your hematocrits, right? The value of it, your hemoglobin, all those different things, the red blood cell distribution with, seeing that this person is lacking a lot of oxygen. And I would say it's not only dealing with iron phosphate anemia, but possibly can be dealing with folate anemia or folic acid, low folic acid, which means they're not getting enough vitamin B12 or vitamin B9, right? Let's move on. So that's one way. We'll get into those later, just for time's sake, because we are behind. So another way, right? And I don't really see a lot of people talking about this, but if y'all don't know what it is, this is actually called a Chinese face mapping. Now, of course, we know the Chinese didn't necessarily make it up, although they have made claim to it, but we know that they have taken our ancient sciences and applied it to themselves to the point that you could actually find ancient Eastern methodologies of healing within their own society and rules when it comes to healing. And I believe this is actually one of our ancient paths. So when you see the face, right, the skin, your skin says 1,000 words, as they say, right? I always say this. You can lie to people, but you cannot lie to God. You can't lie to your body, and you can't lie to yourself. You can lie to everybody else, but you cannot lie to God. You cannot lie to your body, and you cannot lie to yourself. Even if you try to lie to people, your skin will tell on you. Predominantly your face. If you ever seen somebody who has a lot of what you call pimples, rashes, they label it as acne, is like it's dealing with growth hormones, but it's really your hormones out of balance. When you start to see your skin tell a story and have a map on it by way of eczema, acne, itchy elbow, random scars, black spots, that is a telltale sign that there is something that is imbalanced in the body. Your face preferably. So when it came to this face mapping, you'll see that it is connected to different internal organs within the body. From 1 to 2, you see your bladder, small intestines, liver. Most people know about the eyes, right? Dealing with either the kidneys or the liver, right? You got your stomach, your face, which anytime you having bumps in that area, I can tell you right now that you have your gut microbiota is most definitely out of balance, and you have a lot of acid buildup within your stomach, right? You got your lungs is right here, your colon, your kidneys, your obviously with your tongue. Anytime you see a discoloration in the tongue, we know what you're dealing with dehydration. Your tongue starts to turn white. You're dealing with malnutrition. You start to see yellow in the eyes. We know we're dealing with what? Sickle cell anemia. If you start to see black spots in the eyes, we know you're dealing with what? Liver disease or something dealing with your liver. You start to see dark spots, right, under your eyes. And what you'll see, most people who deal with diabetes, you'll see a lot, they'll have black spots under their eyes. And that's not only dealing with dehydration, but that's dealing with a lack of filtration going on in the body, even down to the chemical compound or chemical factory of the body, which is your liver, which means there's not enough balanced filtration going on within the body. Your heart, anytime you see people with bumps on their noses, scars on their noses, black spots, that means that there's a lot of pumping to the heart. A lot of hormones is moving right here. So you can actually tell somebody was dealing with itchy bumps on their elbow, itchy elbow. And a lot of times, itchy elbow was dealing with what? Herpes, right? So your skin will tell you a story. Your eyes, what they say, the eyes is the key to the soul. Your eyes will tell a story. You can't lie to yourself. So start examining yourself. Start going to the doctor. Even if you don't go to the doctor, you can go to what's the place it's called? Test labs, right? And there is a form that you can find, document form, where you can tell them not to use your blood for anything else. I know we got conspiracy theories out there, and I ain't even saying conspiracy because some of that stuff is real. But for those who overthink it, you can sign a contract. If they choose to abide by it, who knows? But the point is, you can sign that off and get a test. It's imperative that you get your test. And I'm going to talk to my brothers too, because a lot of brothers shy away from testing. Y'all do know for brothers, you can get a prostate test without something getting stuck up your butt. There is a way that you can test your prostate without getting sodomized in your butt. So we need to take advantage of what is proper and what is normal for our benefit, so we can get a head start selfishly on our own health and stop waiting until we are literally in chronic diseases or a dire need for people that don't care about our health to look for them for help. We can start doing it ourselves. Yes, I'm a herbalist. Yes, I'm a dietitian. Yes, I'm a nutritionist. But guess what? You can be your own herbalist as well. You can be your own dietitian as well. You can be your own nutritionist as well. Guess what? You can be your own doctor as well, where you're doing your own tests. Did you know that you can also test your kidneys? Not just by having that machine that gets your heart rate, that tells your heartbeat, but you can also get the test where you test your diastolic and systolic, get your kidneys and adrenal glands tested, right? At 20 over 80. Right? Or you can also, and this is what I was taught too, which it does work. This could be a home test. I was actually taught this by Master Herbalist Yaqui, and it has worked for me for years, and has worked for my clients for years. You can do the urination test. What I mean by this is that you take a glass jar. Let's say this glass jar right here, right? You take this glass jar. And the first thing in the morning, before you do anything, before you take anything to drink, before you take any type of food, urinate in that glass. Why do I want you to wait till the morning? Because you've already been through your digestive phase, which is from 12 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. And you already been through your utilization phase, which is from 7 o'clock p.m. to 4 a.m. So by the time you wake up, you're in the midst of your elimination phase. So anything that you ate before, anything that you intake before, it will be you will have the metabolic waste within your urine. So you want to take a glass, again, a mason jar preferably, or a glass jar, period. And you want to urinate in that jar. You want to make sure you top that jar. Don't just leave it open. You want to top it, and you want to keep it in a room temperature room. And you can have it sit, I would say, have it sit for 24 to 48 hours. What you should see, right? Because they taught us, and this is another miseducation they taught us. They taught us that your urination should be clear. I'm here to tell you that that's a lie. That's a lie simply because if you're going through your metabolic processing and it's eliminating waste, and I need y'all to use common sense. Have you ever seen clear poop? No. You've never seen clear poop. Even when you secrete mucus out your nose, it's not all the way clear. It has a tint to it. So if everything that eliminates, even your sweat, if you put it on something, it's not always, it has a little tint to it. It has like a foggy tint to it because it's filled with salts. So if everything when it deals with elimination has some type of color content to it, what makes us think that urination doesn't either? What makes us think that urination doesn't either? The only time your urination should be clear is if you've been drinking water all day and it's just flushing out. That's the only time. But if you're intaking food and you're not drinking a lot of water content, by the time you urinate, it should actually be yellow. It should be actual yellow. That's showing that not only is your kidneys functioning, but it's properly eliminating all the metabolic waste from the day before. So when you allow it to sit for 24 to 48 hours, by the time you get to it the next day or 2 days from now, you should see like a foggy, floaty-like substance at the bottom. That is actually showing that your kidneys is properly filtrating and that you are properly eliminating metabolic waste, cellular waste. That is a good sign. It's good for your urine to be yellow. It's good for you to see white foamy substance and particles floating at the bottom. That means your kidneys is properly filtrating. Now, what you should be scared of is if you know you haven't drinking properly and you still got clear urine the next day. Or if that you do have yellow urine, but you still have bubbles sitting at the top of your urine, that is showing that your kidneys is not properly filtrating. That is showing that your kidneys is not properly removing the metabolic waste from your body, which means that you need to get on, I would say you need to consume a lot more berries. Juniper berries is good for the kidneys. Burdock root, good for the kidneys. Sweet wormwood, good for the kidneys and the adrenal glands. Chaparral, good for the kidneys and adrenal glands. Dandelion leaf, elderberry is good for the kidneys and adrenal glands. Berries is really good for your kidneys overall and your adrenal glands. When you start to consume more of this, you will see proper filtration through your kidneys. So that's one sign. So now we dealt with the CBC chart where you're able to see your blood. We dealt with Chinese face mapping where you could, if you start to see blemishes, black spots, dark shade, skin discoloration, pimples full of mucus and blood, scar tissue or scars, random scars sitting on top of your skin, itchy elbow. These are all signs that not only are you dealing with overproduction of acid in the body, but you're also dealing with a lack of metabolic waste removal, and you're dealing with parasites. You're dealing with parasites, especially when you find yourself dealing with a lot of pimples that's filled or them. You ever seen them patches of bumps, them small patches of bumps? Those are clear signs of parasites. And it's also a sign that your body trying to properly eliminate. So y'all getting, these are all techniques that you could do in your, this is simple. This is simple. You start to see your body having pimples, you know that you have an overproduction of acid. You start to see that you having discoloration, or you start to see black spots on your eyes, you know that you're dealing with a lack of proper kidney filtration. You start to see discoloration in the eyes, you're dealing with the liver. You start to see black spots. Start to see black spots, you know you're dealing with your liver. Or you're dealing with dehydration of the cells. I'm giving y'all keys that y'all can literally practice in your own home without me, without any doctor. And you can start to implement things on help or what you call they say you start to pretty much do damage control. Let's keep going. Your feet. If you start to see discoloration in your feet, you start to see a thickness of skin or a thinness of skin, you start to find pus bumps on your feet that's full of mucus or acid. That's why when you pop it, it burns. See, your feet even tell a telltale sign of the organs functioning or dysfunctioning in your body. You start to see what they call athlete's feet, which is nothing but an overproduction of fungus on the feet. And anytime you have an overproduction of fungus on the feet, that means you're lacking circulation of oxygen to the feet, which makes sense, especially not only the way we eat, but when you're walking around all day with socks on, you sleep with socks on, you're in the house with socks on, and you walking around with these thick old uncirculated shoes that at some point is discomforting to the feet until you break them in. So you're literally suppressing your feet. You're literally suppressing your feet. But your feet is a receptor. Your feet is a reflector of what's going internally, just like your hands. Your hands also are reflectors. Your hands also are receptors of energy. So that's why there is a such thing as the natural way, not getting into all that weird stuff, but the natural way of grounding. That you're able to absorb the energetic force from the earth and is able to balance the bacteria that's on your feet, dealing with the microbiota within the soil. That's why it's bad to actually stand on concrete, because concrete not only lacks oxygen, it don't breathe, and a lot of the time it's carrying pathogens and parasites. But when you put it in natural soil, natural grasses, now you're dealing with natural microbiomes. You're dealing with natural bacteria that can actually heal your feet. I'm a witness of that. And if y'all know my feet, man, my feet is bad. Was bad. When I went to Africa and I started wearing sandals more, and I started putting my feet, I started walking around more in the soil, more in the grass, I didn't see no fungus on my feet. None. See, I like to live what I talk about. I'm only telling you from my own personal experiences, and then having my students or my clients apply the same practices that I've done and do. And the results show. And that's why I want to give y'all this information, because I want you all to be healed. I want y'all to have a right to having true holistic health, which is true wealth. I want you all to be able to think with your right mind, make decisions with your right thoughts, and be able to utilize your hands, your feet, your elbows properly at an old full age. There should be no reason you at the age of 30, 40, 50 years old, even 60 years old, and your bones is bound up, your muscles is bound up, and you in a wheelchair, or you need to get an insulin shot. Or you got your thyroid removed. There should be no way at those ages that you should be moving like that. But if you apply these techniques, if you start to self-diagnose and self-analyze yourself early, you're able to catch these things early. Let's keep going. So, with that being said, these are different techniques that you can use at the dispenser of your own home. You have a right to your own health. You have a right to be able to know what's really going on, because my clients and my students will tell you. I got messages telling me where they'll go to the doctor because I taught them this technique. They will go to the doctor after learning this, and they'll go show the doctor, literally, they will go show the doctor what they see in their own test. And the doctors be confused. Like, how did you get that? Where did you learn this from? They'll even go to the length of denying it. It won't even be able to answer certain questions that I've been able to give them and prepared them to know. And then they go in and they start telling the doctor what it is. And then the doctor will turn around and ask them, hey, you gotta teach me how you learn. Because what I realized, and to some doctors' defense, is that the doctors wasn't even properly taught how to read CPC charts. I wish I could show y'all some of the messages from my students, my clients. But I'm telling y'all, like, I'm not telling y'all nothing I was not taught, and that I did not do the research on my own and put boots to ground for myself. And by way of my students and my clients, they've been able to prove it as well. And this is all for free. It was given to me for free, taught to me for free, and I want to give it to you all free because I want y'all healthy. I need y'all healthy. I need y'all healthy because we got to do more of external building institutions, building educational systems, building true nutritional wealth programs, building financial institutions, teach our children that. But how can we even, how are we even able to focus on them things if we can't get our health right? If you're lacking energy enough to be able to stand for a certain amount of time to get taught properly, or you're constantly in and out the hospital, so we can't even properly build because we don't know when you're going back to the hospital. See, it's bigger than just food. It's about a kinetic connection, mind, body, and soul. A mycelium network of people who are on the same wavelength and frequency of wanting to build and rebuild. But we cannot do that being sick. We see what's going on in the world. We see that there's chaos being broken. Can you imagine if and when war breaks out, and that because you're unhealthy, you're not able to run properly, you're not able to fight properly, you're not able to defend yourself properly or your family, all due to you making bad decisions in your eating? Scriptures say death and life reside in the tongue. But that same principle resides when it comes to food choices. When you look at your food, you need to ask yourself, is this a benefit to my cells or is this a detriment? Would this yield life to my cells or would this yield death? Will this cause my cells to breathe properly or will it cause my cells to become dehydrated? These are choices that we cannot blame a race no more, because these are choices that we are making willfully and knowingly. I can't tell you how many times I heard people say, when they about to eat something bad, yeah, I know it's not good for me. If you know, you acknowledge that it's not good for you, then why continue to do it? But we will die early in the name of convenience. We will die early in the name of comfort. But for those who have an ear to hear, I'm giving you all the jewels on what you can do and apply to your own home. How you can analyze and self-diagnose yourself. Even your poop. You can actually diagnose your poop and see if you actually not only absorb it properly, but eliminate it. Let me see if I can pull it up. I don't even think I saved that one. Let me see. I don't think I put that one up. Say that. Let me see. So let me share my screen. Let me just show y'all this real quick. These are all ways you can actually examine yourself. It's called the Bristol stool chart. Well, first and foremost, let's get to the obvious. And I know it's gonna sound strange to some, but the reality is, do you know that your poop is not supposed to smell? Your poop is not supposed to smell. Your urine should not be strong. Anytime, I can tell you right now, if you having strong urine, especially if it starts to kind of smell sweet, which you can tell, that just showing you not only an overproduction of processed foods you've been consuming, but you're doing a high intake of processed sugars when your urine is that strong. If your poop is smelling, that's just showing you what your insides smell like. If it smell like death, it's because you're producing death in the inside. If it smell like nothing, it just smell like roses, it's just cool, that means you're balanced, you're clean. Even your armpits, your armpits is not supposed to smell. If your armpits is smelling, these are all signs that you are dealing with an overproduction of acid, an overproduction of processed foods and sugars, and an overproduction of eating meat. When you start to get into carbonic acid, and the process of how hard that is for your pancreas to break that down, your colon to break that down. So like when we look at this chart, you got type 1 through type 7. Type 1, anytime you see type 1, you having these separate, hard, lumpy, nut-like type of poops. That means you're dealing with high constipation, which most Americans is 96% of Americans is constipated. 96% of Americans do not poop as much as they eat. So, for example, if somebody's eating if they taking in the myth, the 3 to 5 meal a day myth, most likely they're only defecating twice. But if you understand the body and if your body is able to process it properly, you should be defecating as much as you're eating. If you're not defecating as much as you're eating, it's because you are constipated. Type 2, sausage shaped but lumpy. That's also showing that you're constipated, or you're definitely on the way of constipation. But not only constipation, but it's showing you signs of dehydration. And you got type 3, a like sausage but cracks on surface, another sign of dehydration. If you got soft blobs with clear-cut edges, this is a sign of balance. And you really pretty much want to kind of stay between it can range anywhere between 4 and 6, to be honest with you. Because you want it soft and smooth. It should be you shouldn't have to literally have a heart attack to poop. You should not have to literally squeeze and compress your gut to poop. You should be able to literally sit on the toilet, breathe, and it comes out. That's another sign when you're not constipated. When you're able to sit and easily just breathe without having to force anything, that is a telltale sign that you are balanced. Anytime you got to compress your gut, anytime you got to breathe hard and force it, damn near almost get a headache, that is showing that you are constipated. So type 6, fluffy pieces with raggedy edges, a mushy stool. Now that could be a thin line because that could be a sign of possibly balance, but that can also be a sign of diarrhea, which means that there may be possible infection setting in, and your body's trying to urgently reject or eject anything that could be a threat or anything that can start to throw the microbiota off. It starts to eject it urgently, which leads us to type 7. That is most definitely biochemical urgent care. Your body is smart enough to say, you're not doing it, so I'm going to have to take over and do it. So a lot of time when you got diarrhea and it's coming out as liquid, it's because it's trying to rush any toxins, bad bacteria, heavy metals, or any overproduction of acid that you are producing out of the body immediately. So you see, from your poop to your urine to your skin down to even the CBC test, you're able to diagnose and analyze yourself without having to without having to get any type of vax, without having to get any type of surgery or any type of psychological threats in the mind that make you feel like you have to get it. You can do these simple techniques on your own, and you can apply it at your own home, and you should be able to jump on it if you start to see any defects or imbalances within yourself. If you practice these techniques, start looking at your poop after after you poop. Start testing your urine at least I would say at least once a quarter. Start testing your urine. We actually have an online group chat which I encourage every last one of y'all to join. It's called the Cleanse to Live community. If you go to my Instagram, hit the link in my bio, go to my link tree. There's a Cleanse to Live group that you can join, or you can join my G129 accountability chat as well. It's on Telegram. Download it. We have over 2,000 souls that have committed to their health. We have over 2,000 souls that have committed to make better choices. We have over 2,000 souls that's assisting others on their journey of health. And you could be one too. It's totally free. We ain't charging nobody. We're giving out this information. And we do free cleanses. Me and vegan auntie, Rachel, every year. 4 times a year, we get free cleanses. This is how much we love y'all. Well, we're not only being accountable to y'all, but we're joining y'all on the journey towards healing. Right? So let's go back to this. Even when you're dealing with constipation, you're dealing with any of these type of things and you feel the need that you need to cleanse, we also do have products. My number one product that we're selling right now is it's called the Cycles of Life Tea Package. This is a total and utter overall body cleanse. It's cleansing the blood. It's cleansing the glands. It's cleansing the gut, resetting the gut microbiota, bringing revitalization to the cells, making sure the blood stay clean. Also, it's also helping repair and cleanse the skin, mucosal membrane. So this is a total overall body cleanse that you can do. You could take quarterly. You could take quarterly and it would literally reset your whole entire body. So if you're dealing with constipation, you're dealing with a lack of iron, you're dealing with a lack of vitamin B12, you're dealing with anything that's causing deficiencies and imbalance in your body, was putting you on the acidosis side, my Cycles of Life Tea Package will help with all that. Especially when you're dealing with constipation, we got Cascar Sagrada in there that will cleanse that colon out, that will cleanse them intestines out and make sure that you defecate properly. So y'all be giving all these techniques that y'all should be able to take home and apply to yourself. So with that being said, before I get off, do we got any questions? Do we got any questions at all that y'all might want to ask concerning the lesson? Y'all type it in the chat. Y'all got any questions, let me know before we get off. All right, we good to go. I'm gonna see y'all next Monday. Again, make sure y'all follow our Instagram where we give a lot of information out on there too. Y'all can get updates on products that we have. Our cleanse that we going on. It's the Edenic Experience. That's the Instagram, the Edenic Experience. Obviously make sure y'all click like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all share with the family. This is information that can be very vital to your family. And if you took the time to get on here to learn it, it's your responsibility to make sure that they get the information, and so that we can have a ripple effect of people healing themselves, and not just healing themselves, but we have healers, true healers, whether that be in food healing like a chef, whether that be in herbal healing, whether that be in sound healing, whether it could just be able to speak life over people, because I believe in that too, speaking words of life over people that heal people. But we have to be healthy first to be able to speak healthy, right? You have to be healthy to be able to do things that are healthy, like think, like make decisions, like take on a mantle of making sure our people become in a better place. But we have to have healthy minds first. And like we always said, the Edenic Experience, cleanse the mind and the body will follow. I truly, truly believe, and I've coined this, I truly believe if you cultivate the right environment for your body, it will yield the right balance for you. But it all starts with you. It starts with your decision making, your choices of what you decide to put in your mouth, what you decide to put in your mind, what you decide to put in your eyes, what you decide to put in your ears, because these are also consumers as well. These are consumers as well. Your mind is a consumer. And what a man thinks, so is he. So it behooves us to think properly and take back the knowledge of self. You have a right to know what's going on with you. You have a right to take back your health and have control over your health. Stop letting this society dictate what you should eat, how you should eat, when you should eat. When that was never our way, ever. You ate when you got hungry. And in our ancient way, 1 meal a day was good. Your body truly only needs 1 meal a day. But because we have been super hyperactive and overstimulated, and we have been taught that when our stomach makes a sound that it means it's hungry, when it's really your body is going through its metabolic process and breaking your food down. But you've been taught that you're hungry. So that's a psychology thing. That starts in the mind. You're not hungry. It's your body going through its process. You're not going through a fever. You're not sick. It's your body defending you, defending itself against any foreign invader. So once we start learning these things, we start thinking different of what these things are, I guarantee we will take our health back. But with that being said, again, family, make sure y'all click like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all check out our website at www.theedenicexperience.org. www.theedenic, like Garden Eden, theedenicexperience.org. Make sure y'all check the website out. Make sure y'all check our Instagram out. Make sure y'all check our YouTube channel for other lessons. We will see y'all next Monday. Not Monday, next Monday. Peace, family.